All right, we're back at Bob's wood shop, and the epoxy should be cured. So let's go see how the bowsprit turned out. Nice. Wow. Oh, it's very strong though.
Yeah. I'm kind of interested to see how well we'll be able to clean up everything.
Look, it's like blown glass bubbles.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So yeah, we used marine flex-epoxy, and usually epoxy by itself is pretty brittle. So if I had a piece of epoxy like this, normal epoxy, it would snap. But this, it has a lot of bend in it. I mean, this is rubber basically on this thin piece. So that's really interesting. And the parchment paper, yeah, kept it from adhering to the table. But yeah, this is just really interesting material. The whole reveal is gonna be nice.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can approach the cleanup a couple of different ways. We'll have to.
Do you think that'll take it off?
Well, I don't know how it's going to pop.
Yes. Yeah.
I know what I was.
Wow.
See, that might save us a lot of time.
Jeez. Definitely got under.
So these are called card scrapers. And the way you work them is there's a burr, okay? And you can feel the burr. And it's generally better to go with the green.
Oh, wow. That works way better than I thought it was going to.
Yeah. And so a person could actually smooth this out. And this type of an action, many woodworkers would say this is better than sanding, because you're not, sanding kind of takes the ends of the grain of the wood and it frazzles them. Mm-hmm. This actually cuts them off with that burr.
It's like a razor.
So, yeah, it's like a razor. Okay, well, I think it's in pretty good shape for running through the sander next. We got all the big chunks off of it, I think. Pretty special. All right, well, this. Wow, that stuff everything. That's wrong. Look at this. It's sitting on those edges.
So we've cleaned up one of the sides so that it can lay flat in the drum sander, and we're gonna use the drum sander to clean up the flat sides, and hopefully it'll help with this rough, the milling roughness. And with these flat ends, then we'll be able to run it through the table saw and joiner to create some clean surfaces. See, so it kind of, the center is a bit higher. All right, both of the big sides are done. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. So you can see the grain kind of it tells you which direction the bullet's going. It's a big arrow pointing that way. So really excited to see how this looks all oiled up and nice. Wow. Topping plate's gonna come up 18 inches at least. So we got an 18-inch topping plate right at the end of the topping plate. You can see the tongues of fire going out. And then we get to about here. And then we've got the top part, the chain plate part, which will attach to the head sail. And then on this side, we've got the anchor roller, and that'll probably come out right there. So yeah, the exposed part of the wood is gonna be this neat arrow design pointing the way the boat's going most of the time. So this side was run through the joiner, and it's so clean. So if you were just looking at it like this, it would look like a clean board, but you can see where we started. And all this tiger striped epoxy along the side, and we're gonna run it through the table saw to take this edge off because it's not flush here, and then we'll clean it up like the other side. So we cleaned up this edge that the table saw left some marks on. We used those scraping metal cards to take all those marks off and really smooth it out and trim the edge a little bit. On the ends, I'm probably gonna run it through the chop saw at my father-in-law's house. It's pretty much there, pretty much cleaned up. This end is gonna get rounded to fit the hardware that's gonna be on the end of the bowsprit. The hardware is only 10 inches across, so for the rest of the bowsprit, I might add, well, I'm probably gonna have to taper it a little bit and then hit the round part, which is gonna be 10 inches across and straight. But yeah, it's gonna take a little bit more work, but the bones are there now, so that's very exciting. Back on the boat. It's just such a comfortable place to sit right here in the companionway. A little too comfortable. Dan's over on his boat getting it ready to launch in the morning. Hopefully. He's got a lot of work to do. He said he's probably gonna have to pull all-nighter. He's been pulling all-nighters for the past few days. Someday soon there's gonna be a bowsprit up there. Hopefully some water behind it. Alright, everything's set up real nice. Everything is cured and ready to be sanded down a little. Need to cut that out. So it's ready to accept the new hatches next time. Need to sand down and cut up the burrs on the fiberglass and epoxy. But then hopefully that's it, really. I might go back through with some thickened epoxy in here in some spots once I'm done sanding. And I'm definitely gonna need to put down some fiberglass tapping or something here to smooth things out a little bit better. So let's get to work. All right, another couple hours of sanding. Cleaned up some of the big globs and areas where the fiberglass didn't sit flat. So like that back corner, you could probably see there's a bit of a hole there. And there's a big gap here that the epoxy didn't get into. So definitely gonna be pouring some epoxy in there before I cover it with chop strand. Here along this seam, I tabbed this in a long time ago, and I don't think it ever really sat that flat, so it doesn't surprise me that grinding it out exposed some of the holes there. But otherwise, it cleaned up pretty nice. I ran the orbital sander across everything, and then used the finger sander for larger stuff. So now I think the best course of action would be to mix up some epoxy and start laying on some chop strand in areas that I think need it, just to smooth things out even more. Yeah, because some spots really need it, like this hole here. That goes down into here. So that needs to be filled in. All right, it's epoxy time again. But then the head will be pretty much structurally ready to do more detailed work, like the hatches and the sink. The head itself, low priority right now. I'm not even worried about it until I put it in the water, but it will sit here on this pedestal. I have this access hatch so that I can access the bolts underneath, because the bolts were not accessible last time when I got the boat. So that's gonna change. But otherwise, feeling pretty good about this build. Okay, covered in epoxy again. So we got, I know it doesn't look too much different, but I mean probably the biggest difference is the chop strand along the bottom there. And yeah, I filled in some more chop just in places it needed it and smoothed things out with the epoxy, and yeah, just had a good time cleaning things up. Tomorrow we're gonna launch Dan's boat. There's a tsunami warning right now, and it's supposed to hit maybe like a foot wave in like 35 minutes or so. So I gotta get out of here, and I'm gonna get to high ground, but I mean, I'm a little bit more than a foot up above, but I don't want to be around here when the craziness happens, if anything does actually happen. So at least it's forecasted to be just a foot at 12:20 a.m. So I'm not too worried about it. I think probably the worst that would happen is if you were out on anchor in the bay here and some strong currents came by and started dragging your anchor or something. Or if you really weren't that far off the ground in the water, that swell might pick you up and slam you down. Because it's hitting at low tide here, so it could be bad in a way. But yeah, this is the last bit of boat work I have before I have to return to California for a bit. But I'll be back on in no time, in 2 weeks, real time. By the time this episode comes out, I'll already be back doing boat work. So after I edit the episodes from this upcoming blitz of boat work, I should be 3 to 6 months ahead in real time. So, but on the Patreon, episodes will come out as I edit them. So the Patreon will stay up to date, but YouTube will lag behind about 3 to 6 months. If you want to stay up to date, maybe check out the Patreon, and it supports me a lot, especially with some huge upcoming purchases like getting the batteries for the motor and rewiring and re-rigging the boat. That's going to be a huge financial barrier for me, and y'all need all the support I can get. Thank you to my patrons. Thank you to Bob Laufenberg for letting me use your wood studio. I learned so much in that short amount of time, those 2 days that we worked on the bowsprit together, and learned about tools that I had never heard about before, even as a trim carpenter in the past. It was a lot of fun, and I promise I'll bring the kids by, so soon. And of course, everybody who's been showing me support in person and online, thank you so much. You make this project all worth it and doable. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.